Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. Hope everyone's doing good. It is about 9:30 on a Thursday morning. Pretty gray and overcasty day, but I think it's supposed to be pretty nice. The weather has gotten pretty nice. It's been on the cool side, of course, because it's fall and all that good stuff. But I hope everyone's doing good. I want to thank some of the new subscribers to the channel. It's been very cool. A lot of people have had a nice little rush or influx of new subscribers over the last couple of weeks to the YouTube channel. And I've been, my schedule has been back to, quote unquote normal. So I have a lot more time to do these reviews. Usually what I do is I try to break things up. And I was for a while, mainly because of my schedule, but I wanted to kind of just mix things up. I was uploading a lot of videos, but setting them up as premieres. So just to kind of break up things, and I was, trying to do some variety, quite a bunch of different kinds of films, different genres, and that's always a fun way to just kind of, break up in case things kind of get stale. So, doing that kind of thing, and that was mainly because of my schedule, and now back to where I'm at now with the school year and my schedule being that much more easy to do the videos. I love that I'm kind of back in that place schedule wise to be able to do these videos. So I've been doing a lot more videos, and usually what I've been doing also is I've been uploading reviews more in the post form as well for these films, and I've been sharing those a little bit more, posting those a little bit more, and that's been really great because I've had quite a few people comment on those videos, or I should say posts, and I've had quite a few new people come into the fold, so that's been very very cool. And again, most of the movies I've been covering, or really all of the movies I've been covering, has been all of my big giant purchase that I had a few weeks ago from Opera House Video. Very, very cool. I just finished up the last movie of this bad boy here. 15 movies, this horror pack, and I've been the last I don't know 2 or 3 weeks or so. I've been covering all the movies I've been covering has been based off of this. Super cool. There were a couple movies on here, 2 or 3 movies I did not watch or review because I already own them, and I already have like pretty good copies of them for the most part. And then also they also have reviews for each of those films, but most of about 70% of these films I had never seen before, and I just finished up the last movie in this collection last night. So this was overall a pretty awesome collection. Lots of cool movies that I never seen before. And again, when I go out to, in my travels, when I'm buying movies, especially when I go to Bull Moose, I will definitely keep my eyes peeled for some of these titles. Very very cool. Some of the quality, again, the quality isn't great. Some of the quality of certain films is pretty good. Other films, it's really terrible. But hey, it was $1, and if I can get turned on to a movie I've never seen before and own it really, well, for virtually free, I'll snag it up. So very very cool. I'm looking forward to going on to the next batch of movies that will be coming on after this. I still have quite a few movies. I kind of almost haven't even scratched the surface. This was a lot. This was 15 movies, so this was a whole, you know, time time well spent. So today's show is on a movie again, another movie I've never seen before, and it's called Dominique is Dead, or it's under two titles. I've looked it up a little bit, and Dominique is Dead, and then I have seen it listed as just Dominique, and it's a 1979 horror movie. Definitely in the vein of like horror exploitation. It's essentially like a ghost story, but it also has these elements of where I feel like it has like a giallo, like a classic kind of Italian giallo kind of mystery kind of vibe to it, especially the ending. It really has some interesting twists and turns. It kind of messes with your expectations a little bit, especially towards the end. But this came out in 1979. It's an American movie. It was directed by Michael Anderson. It was adapted from a book, which I didn't realize, called What Becoming Ghost. What Becoming Ghost. Essentially, it's a ghost story. These last two movies that I watched, Dominique is Dead, and then the one I finished last night, which was the last in the collection, is called The Ghost. But both of these movies are like kind of like classic ghost stories. And again, like I said, this movie has like a giallo kind of vibe. It does mess with your expectations, which I really love, especially the ending. It has a very mysterious, investigative kind of quality to it. The cast is really great in this film. Cliff Robertson, I remember him. Cliff Robertson's a real popular character actor. He's been around for many many years. I remember when I first saw Spider-Man, the same Raimi film, which is an amazing movie. The he was Uncle Ben in that. Cliff Robertson. That was the first time I ever saw him, and that was much. Obviously, that movie's pretty old now, but at that time it was much later in his career. But Cliff Robertson's been in tons of movies throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Gene Simmons, not Gene Simmons from Kiss, but the other Gene Simmons, is also another star. Simon Ward is in this film, who's really a really great character actor. I've seen him in a lot of different things. Jenny Agutter and Judy Greason. The story of this film is really cool. It's really about this husband whose wife ends up killing herself, but the husband kind of drives her crazy, drives her insane, and kind of pushes her almost in a really strange way to where she takes her own life. And then the film is about who acquires her inheritance, and then it's also about supposedly after these tragic events happen, the husband is now haunted by his dead wife's ghost. And so there's a series of all of these things that happen that are leading the husband to believe that he is being kind of stalked or hunted or being haunted or a victim of a haunting from his deceased wife. And it's great. It's really great atmosphere. The one thing I will say that I didn't like about this movie, and it's not the movie itself at all, the quality, the transfer of this movie on DVD is kind of awful. So, but it's good enough that it's such a good movie that you kind of look past it, and you can kind of get a gist of what's going on. But the only thing visually, it's really actually hard to see this movie or to watch this movie because the quality is pretty bad, and a lot of the scenes in this movie take place in this big giant house, and there's a lot of darkness. So visually, it's hard to really see what's going on at times because it's so dark. But the scenes where you can see what's going on, you can tell that this film has a really awesome, a really haunting and creepy atmosphere. There's a lot of great use of shadows, silhouettes. It's a little bit on the slow side, but I think it really works for the film because it's a little bit of a slow burn. Very creepy, and it has a very subtle atmospheric vibe to it. Ending is really great. I thought the ending was really interesting. It kind of surprised me. And like I said, I kind of felt like the ending had very much like a giallo kind of vibe to it. It was, it kind of plays out, the film as a whole kind of plays out as like a murder mystery film. And of course, that's like a classic, trait or trope of giallo. And so, very, very cool. I love when those two things are blended together. It makes it it just makes for a really immersive experience. I've seen that before where you if you watch a horror film and say it's around, maybe the film is about like a series of murders, or there's some, to some capacity, it might have like a slasher element. And if you put it in, say, for the first time, and you watch it, and you right away are like, oh, okay, this guy or this girl is the killer, and it has a kind of a predictable thing. And then by the time you get to the end, and there is the reveal, there you called it early, and there's it's pretty, the narrative is pretty straightforward. And sometimes that can work because maybe the characterization is really strong, or the story is just very well done, or it could be really, really well directed. But I like when I don't really know. If I watch a horror film, I like when I don't really know who the killer is, and that there is like a big reveal at the end, and then it's like, you know, kind of shocking or kind of frightening. I remember like one of the first times I saw, which is one of my all-time favorite slasher films of all time. I remember when I first saw My Bloody Valentine, the great Canadian slasher exploitation classic. Like I said, one of the greatest slasher movies. I remember and I still have that impact. It still has that impact on me. But when they had, the big kind of reveal of who the killer was at the end, it was like kind of shocking. And then the way it ends, it's kind of shocking. And it still has that impact. But I didn't know who the killer was, and I didn't expect where it was going to go. And I love that. I really love it because, to me, as a viewer and as a fan of horror, it just builds suspense, and I'm just pulled in, and I care about the characters. I care where the stories are going. The people on screen are not just pretty faces. There's a little bit of gravitas to them. So I just have some empathy towards them. So I just care about where they go and how it plays out. And this film very much has that. It has a very surprising ending, and again, it's got more of a, where it's like, well, My Bloody Valentine is just like a straight up, you know, classic slasher film. I felt like this film does have a giallo film, and it has more of a murder mystery kind of angle. But very, very cool, very cool. I had never seen this movie before. This one, quality wise, I'd say is, and this came out '79 again. Quality wise, this one is one of the hardest ones to get through, just because of the transfer. It's really bad. I almost, and I like, again, I just finished the last movie of this collection last night, but I almost didn't watch this one. Only because when I started to watch it, the the quality right away was like kind of piss poor, and I was a little bit turned off by that. And it's I'm a pretty big stickler when it comes to quality of you know the edition of that film that you're watching, because it can really, depending on how you're watching your film or the quality, it can really, you know, get in the way of your experience as a viewer. It was funny, and I might have mentioned this before in a previous video, but there was a guy, or actually, no, I remember what it was. It was an interview I saw. It was just like a week or two ago. I saw a really awesome interview on YouTube with one of my favorite slasher exploitation horror directors ever, Bill Luswig, or William Luswig. He, he's the director of Maniac, my favorite slasher film of all time. He did the Vigilante film. He also is responsible for the Maniac Cop franchise. Just amazing, iconic movies. And he also he retired from his life as a director. But then about 10 or 12 years ago, he started his own distribution company, or movie company, Blue Underground, and it's one of my favorite labels out there. It's a boutique label, and they basically re-release all the great classic exploitation movies from the 70s and 80s, and a lot of amazing horror films. They've done so many great restorations, particularly around a lot of the classic Lucio Fulci movies. One of my favorite labels. And there was a really cool interview with Bill Lustig. And the guy who was doing the interview was saying, he was talking about how, and I've seen it too, the last few years, there are a lot of people out there and who are really, they're into a lot of these exploitation movies and these really low budget movies, but they're like steadfast and like kind of waving this flag that, well, I collect VHS, and that adds to the experience, and I and now and now, as far as being a collector, like VHS actually has like you know a net worth to it. They're actually, VHS is actually popular in a weird way. I went to a horror convention last year for the first time, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I could buy some movies there. But it was okay. The horror convention was okay. I don't know. It was all right. It was cool, but it was also kind of disappointing. I got some cool posters, but I was hoping they would have like cool merch, or at least an area where they had Blu-rays or 4Ks. And they didn't have any of that stuff. They had one booth, and all they sold was VHS. They had all of these the kind of new prints or classic editions of VHS, and they still had the plastic on them, but they were expensive. There was like, I remember they had a couple of like Friday 13th movies, first edition on VHS for like $30. And and I have tons of VHS still, and I don't. My player's a little bit shoddy, but so this guy who was interviewing Bill Lustig, was asking him, so what is this whole like thing about, why are these people so into VHS, and why is there kind of this like a love for it, and why are the prices high now all of a sudden for unopened VHS from a collector's standpoint, and why are people saying, well, when I'm watching exploitation movies, that's how I want to watch it because that's the purest form. And Bill Lustig said that basically said that viewpoint is like pretty much dismissible and completely and utterly ridiculous. Like he said, no, actually, if you're a fan of these movies and you're a collector, you're actually doing yourself like a complete disservice because the quality is shit for the most part. Because he said when what he sees when he's remastering a movie, or when he is putting together an edition that he's going to release through a Blue Underground, they deal a lot of the times with like the original print of the film, and most of the movies they put out are all Blu-ray and 4K. And he said when you have that experience of when you're sitting in the studio and you're actually going through the film and you have like say the original print or the original negative, the actual print is pristine and just gorgeous and immaculate. And he said when you see one of these films on Blu-ray or 4K, that is pretty much the truest representation of how the film was, how it was actually seen in the first place on the big screen. And he said that the whole idea that, well, VHS is like amicable to that. He's like, no, it's actually, no, it's just a really bad fifth rate copy of that. So the quality is not good at all. But he said if you actually see the original print in the film, it's gorgeous and immaculate. And he said that is the closest way, that is the way to see these films. And if you're a collector or a fan, he said that's the ultimate way. That's how, if you, like, for example, if you back in the day, if you went to the theater when it came out to see the Lucio Fulci classic, which is my favorite Lucio Fulci movie, The Last House, or The House by the Cemetery, that would be how you would see it. Like the quality would be just spectacular. So It's pretty cool. So this would be definitely an awesome movie to see on Blu-ray 4K because it's pretty bad. The VHS, it's definitely burnt from VHS. It's a DVD copy of this, but which doesn't really make a difference. But anyway, really awesome movie. Highly recommend it. I've never seen it before. Dominique is dead. Uh, very cool, very cool ghost story. Lots of cool elements. It's got the Giallo vibe to it. 1979. So, yeah, very, very cool movie starring Cliff Robertson. So, thanks again, everybody out there in Film Fanatic world, and we will see you next time. Peace.